you're going to be the first woman, or even that you're a woman, trying to get into a role that maybe has always been occupied by a man.
Thank you very much. So it wasn't really in contemplation that you were getting into a man's role, as it were. Thank you, Yimika. Tony, a few people in the audience do not know about SAS Textiles, particularly how did you start? Can you share with us some of the history? Just give us the background of SAS.
Okay, thank you so much. And good afternoon, everyone. SAS Textiles is a story of hope in adversity. So SAS simply means Sholadedeji Stores. It's a transgenerational business, and it's a business that is over 40 years. So it was founded by my late mother, and she started the business in the house. She had always worked in Nigerian railways, and of course, by the time she started her family, so she needed to, she was also doing business by the side. But in the year 1994, my mom passed on, and I think I was just 18 years old. But, SS is a very interesting story. So, from the age of 13, I had started selling with my mom. I was helping her. Of course, my mom didn't have any sales girl. So we, our children, were the our sales personnel. So by the time she passed on in 1994, I was just in my second year in university. We took over the business. And when I say we took over, my sister and I took over the business. I call my sister, my MD. But, my mom had already built her as a clientele, and she had already instilled the values of integrity, hard work, excellent customer service, So, I think it was exactly a month after my mom passed that we opened the store, because she was the breadwinner and the family had to survive, So it's really a story of hope in adversity. And, from that one store, I call SAS a story of from Yara Italia to SAS. So it's a business that started in the house, but we opened our first official branch in 1995. Yes, 1995. And from that one branch, we've opened several stores across the city of Lagos. So that's how SAS started. So
Awesome.
SAS means Sholadedeji Stores. Yes, it's a family company. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you. And I remember those days. I think home then was somewhere in Folagoro, thereabouts.
Yes, wow, us so well.
I do remember.
Yes,
I do remember,
yes.
and she was moving from one room to the other, and I think over a period, the entire house was taken over by Fabric. You had to actually go there at a particular time. So awesome. I'm now SAS is all over Lagos as well. I'll go back to you, Yimika. What would be your advice to young women in the audience who are just starting their careers on how best to chart their career paths to ensure that they are headed in the right direction that would take them to the top? Everybody at some point or the other, people say to themselves, so I like what I see. I like the story of Yimika. How do I ensure that at the beginning of my career, I'm able to take those steps that will ensure that I do get if not to where she is, as close as I can, and why not to where she is? Any tips?
I'll say even better than me.
Absolutely.
Two things. First of all, being a Christian, I know that one of the things I always did, and I've been doing this for a long time, is to pray about things. I come from a manufacturing family. My late father had about four factories, manufactured biscuits, tires, so, I knew I would end up in manufacturing. But I think more importantly, I also wanted to do something that was independent of my family, because, when you come from a large family and your father is in the spotlight, you either sort of like follow his shadow or do your own thing. So I was purposeful, prayerfully purposeful. I told myself that I wanted to be a leader. I saw how my father managed his business, and I still believe that I would run my own business, by the way. So even though I'm still working for other people and I've done this over my career, there's still that yearning to run something for myself, because I believe that if I can do this for others, I should be able to do it for myself. But I was purposeful, and I'll say to you, be purposeful, be focused, because I had focus. And just wait on God. I walked through, in Coca-Cola, I was CFO to 4 MDs. In Cadbury, I was CFO to 4 MDs. So I had 8 MDs before I became an MD, reporting to 8 MDs. You know, I could have given up after the third or fourth one. In fact, I remember, I think when I was in NBC, there was one particular MD that was there. I was the MD, you know, I mean, he couldn't go to the bathroom, excuse me for saying that, but that was reality, without asking him, do you think if I go to the bathroom, do you think it's okay? Not asking for my permission, but seeking advice. He told me once that, look, you're my eyes and my ears and you're watching my back. So anything that I need to do, you know, I'm expecting you to please make sure that I'm doing the right thing. And the one thing I said to myself is, look, if my boss does well and shines, he'll get promoted and there'll be a vacancy for me. If I don't support him well and he fails, there will be no vacancy because you know what? He would not succeed and he would not be promoted. So I was very purposeful. I was very focused and prayerfully, because I knew what I wanted. You know, I didn't derail. I didn't say, okay, it's not happening the way I want. I'm now getting too old. Let me move on to something else. That would be my advice.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Emeka. Be purposeful, be determined, focused, and excel in your role. Tony, the business has no doubt encountered many challenges over the years. I mean, it's no mean feat that you started the business from the one shop and then you're where you are today. Can you please share a few of those challenges and how you have surmounted them?
Okay, thank you very much. I think the first major challenge we encountered was having to start a business. I mean, take over an existing business at the age of 18. I was in university and, you know, having to allow people to trust us. So first of all, we had to let people trust us, you know, and my mother had what you call goodwill. She was an amazing woman. I still hear stories about her up till now. You know, she left such a legacy and we were like, okay, we had to fill in this shoe. So the first major challenge we faced was, and we survived it, we surmounted it, was allowing people to trust us. And of course, we made sure we stood on those same principles that she had built upon, and which was excellent customer service, which was our integrity, which was hard work, you know, and she was fair to all. And I think it was based on those principles of love, you know. So from the age of 18, and I think my sister was doing her NYSC, then we took over the business, you know, and of course, personal development. Another major challenge I think we faced was, you know, of course, I will bring it to the most recent challenge, which was the last year was when we had the COVID-19, you know, and of course, businesses had to shut down. But one thing we did was we made sure we remained in the face of our customers. You know, we made sure that we had to adapt, we had to be innovative. You know, it was an interesting year. But one thing was that we were agile. You know, there's something called agility. We made sure that we were keeping in touch with our customers. You know, and I always tell people that there are two types of customers, your internal and your external, you know. So our staff were always on top of their game as well, you know. So even though then the most recent one was the NSAS, and the NSAS is one I would talk about. The NSAS was when, of course, we all know about the NSAS, you know, and two of our stores, you know. The first store that was attacked was a store at Lekki, and, you know, I was like, okay, this happened and we're able to secure the store, you know, even though they had entered, you know, but we're just trying to recover from the Lekki one. And 24 hours later, we heard that they had come to Surulere, and the Surulere one was really, really bad because they were there for 12 hours, you know, but in the initial shock and everything, I thank God for, you know, SCS is a family business and I work with my siblings. So, you know, we're 6 siblings that all work together, you know, and we bounced. We said it's new beginnings. One thing we did was we chose to focus on our blessings, not on our losses, you know. So immediately we said we needed to bounce back. The following day, the NSAS thing happened. I opened the pop-up store in my house because I didn't want any pity party. You know, God gave us so much strength. So in the face of all the losses, we remained focused. We suffered a lot of loss, but we're able to bounce back on our feet. You know, one thing about all the events, you know, we were still doing what we had to do. And for God told us it was a new beginning for us, you know. I mean, we suffered, I think last year, 2019, our major warehouse got burnt as well. But, you know, there was something we did. We we had other branches, so we're able to redistribute our staff. And, in the midst of all this, we made sure we kept our staff, we planned ahead. We're able to harness all our operations, So there was something called the business and continuity plan we had put in place, so that not for one day did we stop, because we owe a responsibility to our customers, to meet their needs. We're business that provides solution, and so we sell happiness. So
thank you very much,
Toyin. All the way. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That answers one. I mean, I think we all saw we empathize, but for me as well was your reaction. That you quickly swung back into. So it wasn't a situation where people had to dwell with the pity and all of that. You quickly bounced back. Well done, and kudos indeed. I'll come back to you, Yineka. Still in the line of career and women in general. Women are quick to turn down or not to pursue opportunities when they feel they have not ticked all the boxes, unlike their male counterpart, who would, whether or not if it's 10 competencies that they are required and they meet 2 of the competencies, they'll quickly put their hands up and say, yes, I'm able to. What would be your advice to women in this regard? Some people have called it the imposter syndrome.
I think, first of all, sorry, I just need to make a comment to Toyin, to say, Toyin, I can see all the business schools training coming out there. BCP Absolutely. Is so important to your business. Having a business, irrespective of what you do, is so important. It's not for the multinational, it's for everybody. Everyone should have a BCP. And if you don't have one, you run, especially in our market, you will run into trouble. Absolutely. So, we're Christians, yes, but we should have a BCP. To your question, I had to say that, because when she said the business country, I said Toyi's business school is paying off. Blessed be God. So I would say to you honestly, if you feel qualified, please pursue. Don't hesitate. I honestly don't know why we should hesitate as women. We should just go ahead and do what we need to do. I know you might say it's easy to say so, but honestly, if you don't jump in, somebody else will jump in. Don't let your fears and your concerns take over. I'll say that the best you can do is to pray. I always say to people, what will be the other side? It's either you try it and you get it, or you try it and you don't. Now, if you get it, fantastic. If you don't, it's not the end of the world. You try again. So I would encourage you to go for it. Now, if you feel that you are not prepared, because you are not prepared professionally, because you don't have the right qualification, then you should go and do that work. Make sure you're ready. Go do whatever it is in terms of preparation before you go for it. But like I said earlier on, be purposeful and be focused. Once you're purposeful and focused, I actually believe that when the opportunity comes, you put yourself forward, you will get it. It's when you doubt yourself that you then put yourself in a place where you may not be able to do what you want to do.
Absolutely. And I think also to just say that you don't necessarily have to take 10 out of 10. If you're prepared and you have a fair and a fair idea what is expected, and indeed you can go for it.
And I think let me just say this.
Go ahead.
I didn't learn to be MD.
Absolutely.
Nor did I learn. I mean, professionally, I trained as a chartered accountant. I went to school. I learned to be a chartered accountant. I can do finance in my sleep, but I also knew what I wanted, and I knew it's not something that I'm going to go to school and learn at this stage. It's something I have to prove myself that I can do and prep myself for it. And that's what the challenge I'll put to women out there, to say, prep yourself for it. It's not everything that you go and learn. It's not every box that will be ticked. Today, I run the business in the way asking, for help. I'm always looking for help. I mean, my team know that I say this. I always say to them, hands up, I'm not an expert. That's why I've got you guys. I'm here to guide, to help, to support you for the business to win. I'm not here for you to support me. That's not leadership. And so, the idea is to make sure that, you put yourself forward and, pray about it.
And then as you go along, the help that you need will come as well. So Toyin, you mentioned to us that you have 6 siblings. And the 6 of you are in the business. People have said all sort of things about working with family, doing business with family and all that. How have you managed, to such that it hasn't been a problem over the years, that they actually live up to standards that you expect them to, and indeed exceed expectation? How have you coped?
Okay, thank you so much. So everything starts from the foundation. So initially it was just my MD and I. My sister is my MD, that we took over the business, But as time grew on, other family members started to join, other siblings started to join, And one thing I would say is that, my big sis, Mrs. Sister Yimika, she's my big sis. I'm a chartered accountant as well. And how did I become a chartered accountant? My mother she worked with the accountant of railways. And so she said her daughter must be an accountant. And so even though by the time she passed on, I had not done my ICANN, but just to fulfill her wishes, I made sure I did my ICANN, and I qualified, even though I never really worked, of course, I've worked all my life at SAS. But, one thing I know that we've done, we've put structures in place, we have clear definition of roles for every family member. So I know what I do. I know we have our reporting lines. We each family, we are all on salaries. I'm always that when I get my alerts. Becoming from a finance, coming from an accountant. I mean, I remember the early days of the business, because now we were there was nobody we were reporting to per se, but I knew that we had to write down all the expenses. I knew we had to be prudent, I knew we had to do things properly. So we had to outsource a lot of things, But one thing that I remember the early days of business, it was just my sister and I at our Kerele store. Somebody came in and she said, don't you people fight? I was like, wow, they're actually waiting for us to fight. But I can stand confident. I've never for one day fought. I respect her so much. She's our MD, she's a merchandiser. In the early days of the business, we'll travel together. And we've learned on the job. So we maintain that close, cordial relationship. And of course, we have regular meetings to talk about our challenges, how we can move the business forward. Nobody takes, one thing I do now, in the early days, I used to be very independent, but now every investment decision, I will say, I have a board though, and we must take decisions together. So we carry ourselves together as a team. And of course, based on that foundation of love, respect, and unity. Oh my God, I am very passionate about what I do. I love my siblings. And of course, I will talk about our staff as well. They've grown on the job. Our oldest staff, she's been with us for over 30 years now. She's in her 70s. She worked with my mother and she's still with us. We begged her to retire, but Mama doesn't want to retire. So our staff, we have a very low staff turnover. So they've grown with us as well. All our staff have been with us. We have some that worked with us for 20, 30 years. Once they come in, they stay on the job.
What's the secret to that? How do you retain your staff and make sure that you reduce attrition?
How do we? Well, we treat them, of course, we when they come in, they know what they're meant to do. But I think we treat them as family. Recently one of them had a fire explosion in his house, and we're there for them. We're there for them. We carry them, along the line, and we carry their problems. We love them. Even when during the EndSARS, during the COVID, when there was no work, we're not doing operations, we're still paying their salaries. So we've gone together. So they understand us, we understand them. We have when you're fair to your staff, they will love you and they will grow with you. People always say, how do you people do it? I say, I don't even know how we do it, but I know God has helped us in that area. God has helped us in that area.
Thank you. You've treated them like family. I think you answered that as well. I'll come back to you, Yimika. Earlier in your career, you would have had to deal with raising a family, keeping the home, and putting in the hard work as well at work to get you to where you are today. Can you share with us how you manage this feat successfully? People always talk about work-life balance, ensuring that you don't drop any ball, your career, and then you don't drop the ball at home as well. How did you manage to juggle all of this?
Thank God for support systems. Thank God that we come in a culture where we have family to that's willing to support us. I think my biggest support is from my husband, Ayodele, who honestly, I can't even begin to tell you. He's just been wonderful, just helping me, guiding me, advising me, taking full charge of the children. I would say first Ayodele, and then my mom, hands-on, grandma, Grandma Ijebu, the whole family, my children, my sisters, my brother. She's always there for everyone. For me, we made her move in. I'll say we made her move in, although it came naturally because my dad, whom she was very close to, died, and we didn't want her to stay in the house by herself, so she moved in and she helped. She took charge, hands-on, really hands-on. I mean, school runs, all of that. I live on one side of town, my office on the other side of town, so a lot of things that I do, if I don't do it first in the morning, it would have to be late at night. But my mom would be there, my husband was there, and just that support system. Even my siblings, my sister who lives not too far from the road would pop in and out to make sure she looks out for the children, because she knew that I was going through a lot. And I think finally, in terms of just managing the ball, it's also working for an employer that understood that, look, you got a person that happens to be a woman that has many balls in the air. What can we do to make her job comfortable for her? And, when I say this, I always say this, allowed it in a way to say, it's not because I was senior, but because, it was because my employer saw that I was dedicated to my job. And therefore, so the things that were put in place to support me were things that I would ask for. I would say, oh, I need to do X, Y, Z. And it would be like, okay, sure, because I was doing my job, and I wasn't going to drop that ball. So, it's a combo of many things, but, all those things I'll say worked out well for me. And I think, my advice to women is, like I said, we have that support system. I lived in the UK for several years. I didn't know my neighbors for years because people don't ask after you. They mind their own business, Here it's different, you have people looking out for you, looking out to see, how everything is. Use those people, I was on a call a few days ago, talking to women, and somebody said, what if you don't have anyone to support you? And my jaws dropped because I said, it cannot happen in our society. There's always somebody.
Someone.
It's if I was somewhere else, I'd say, yeah, it's possible. But here in Nigeria, I would be looking at that person to say, I would say that person has a problem, because society and the culture is such that we always find somebody. And we just talked about her sister, and her family. That's who we are. And that's the support system we have that we should tap onto.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. I have a follow-up question to that. So I'm sure in the midst of this, regardless of the fact that you had a support system and all, so there are times when you've missed out on PTA meetings, open day, prize giving, and all of those. The first time he was going to kick and score and all of those. Have you ever felt guilty that you couldn't make some of those very significant moments because you had to prioritize work?
Actually, I always get my priorities right. I must confess, my priorities are my priorities. I say to people, when I talk, I say that my priorities, I use my fingers to describe my priorities. I have 4 priorities and I use my fingers. And I say those 4 priorities, and it's not the size of the finger or the height of the finger, but it's just so that when I'm thinking through it myself, I always look at myself and say, have you walked through that? So my priorities are God, my husband, my children, my work. So, I would ask myself that question, if something I need to do is not in that priority, I'll make sure that I set it. So honestly, my children's, the worst that will happen for maybe to a conference or something is that I might be late or my husband would go, or somebody would go from the family. It's not that neither of us would be there. And if both of us need to be there, my children were all musical. So they had concerts. And I would take time out to go for those concerts. If I have to leave the office in Ikeja to run to school in VI at 2:00 in the afternoon and then end back in Ikeja again, I would do it because it's important for me to be at this one before this one.
Yeah.
So I would prioritize, if it's something that's not critical, then, I know that it's not critical. And I have that conversation with my children. Oh, you're having a soccer match this afternoon. Dad's going to be there. Is that okay? And honestly, when I look at the body language, if body language says, Mommy, I want you to be there, then I'm going to reschedule my day. If the body language says, sure, Mom, it's not a big deal, then, so be it. I've gotten on, I've had to go to a school event out of Nigeria because, my daughter said, all the mommies and daddies are going to be there.
Yeah.
You know, and I thought, okay, but dad will come. And she said, yeah, but mommy, all the mommies and daddies are going to be there. So the message was clear, and the priorities had to be ordered, you know, the right way. So I would say to you, you know, in thinking through this, get your priorities right. You set your own priorities yourself. Once you set it, then follow them. I set mine, and I God helping me, I follow that schedule.
Thank you, Emeka. But I'm going to play the devil's advocate here and just stay on this question for a minute and say to you that, you know, so you can do that now because you're CEO, you're senior enough to do so, to say that, well, I mean, I need to rearrange my schedule. What if I'm, you know, young in my career, I'm 2 years on this job, and I'm a junior level employee who wants to make it to the top, obviously. So I might not have the luxury of being able to juggle my time like that, and then I'll miss out on the PTA meeting or the concert.
Okay, so BC, let me go back. In 1993, I attended the COVID. Now that's telling my age. So in 1993, I attended COVID leadership training. You know, when I was in Arthur Andersen, and we were asked to write down our mission statement. And when I was in Arthur Andersen, I was a manager. I wasn't the CEO. I wasn't the partner. I was just a manager. And I wrote my mission statement then. And I was not married, by the way, but I set my priorities then. And as far back as that, I followed it. And I have not changed that. So guess what? When I was in NBC and I had to go to a business meeting, I remember very well, in somewhere in Switzerland, I could remember. And I just had my baby. I had my first daughter. And I was breastfeeding. So I said to my employers, I'm breastfeeding. I can't go for this meeting. And I said, well, you have to go. And I said, well, then I have to take my baby. Okay. Then once they said, okay, I thought, okay, what else do I need? I need a nanny in the hotel. Yes, now I need a nanny in the hotel. Okay. And then I thought, okay, well, what else do I need? And I just went. I mean, once the door was opened, who might not take advantage? You know, I did a shopping list of all the things that I needed, plus taking my baby. You know, and it's interesting. I attended a Wimpy's event. I think it was 3-4 years ago. And one of the ladies that saw me at the airport that long ago, when I was saying this, jumped up and said, yes, I saw her, backpack, baby, Billy bag, suitcase, you know. No, the nanny was in the hotel. I didn't take the nanny from Lagos. I took the baby and I had all my luggage with me. But when I arrived in Switzerland, Lucerne, I remember when I arrived in Lucerne, there was a nanny waiting in the hotel to take the baby for me when I went to my meeting. And by the time I came back from my meeting, she should have bathed the baby, fed the baby. I would express milk, put it in the fridge, she would do everything, you know, and that was it. So, you know, it's not about, this statement I'm making is not a statement I made because of when I became CEO. In 1993, I mean, that's decades ago. And I just followed it. You know, the first thing was that I was asked to do a mission statement. We were all going to training. You know, asked to do a mission statement. I did it. And once I look at my mission statement today, and I would not change it. You know, it worked for me, and it worked for me by God's grace well.
Absolutely. Set your priorities and stick to them. Fantastic. Thank you very much, Emeka. Tony, and I think this is the last question we'll take from here before we go to the audience. I see that a few questions have coming. So there's research that suggests that only 20% of businesses outlive the first generation of owners. SaaS is now in its second generation. Can you share with us some of the structures that you have put in place to ensure that it will go beyond this second generation? What are some of the structures that you have put in place? Tony?
Because we've learned to we've always worked with consultants at every stage of our business. We've always worked with consultants. You know, we've put structures in place, and you know, everybody has their reporting lines. And you know, most recently we did a business re-engineering. You know, so that in business we are learning to innovate, we're learning to adapt. You know, and we have to make sure that we're in tune with what is happening in the economy, especially the environment, you know. So one of the structures we put in place is that we make sure that no process in the organization starts with just one person, at least two persons are involved, So, we do a lot of, we engineer, we do a lot of looking at our processes, and also we make sure that we empower our staff a lot, because one thing is we've also learned to evolve at all times. We've learned to, and now we're learning to recruit from outside as well, looking at succession. Because I look at, where, of course, when my mother started, my mother died at the age of 48. I mean, she didn't even train us for succession, But one thing I know is that, study your processes. So that is what we're doing now. So that most times, there was a time I wasn't in the country for over 3 months, and of course the business went. So any business that you're running that cannot run by itself, you've not really started, So that's one thing we've learned to commit ourselves to lifelong learning. We're building a team around us, So of course, we know who is the MD, we know who is the chairman, we know who the directors are, there's such a structure, we have our reporting lines, we've learned to empower our staff, and there's just so much I could talk about, but we are preparing, of course, we're preparing for the next generation as well. We're preparing for the next generation as well, because everybody always asks, how did you do it? How come the 6 of you are working together? And, when I look at the 6 of us, we're different generations. Of course, there's a generation of the 70s and there's a generation of the 80s, but somehow we've seemed to merge, because through the release of social media, the Instagram boom, technology has evolved. We are learning not to be obsolete. That's one thing. We've learned to embrace technology. So the young ones now, let me call them the generation Z. They are the ones taking over that aspect of the business. So we have learned to bring in people that know what to do. And we're learning to let our people speak. So most times, even I'm on the shop floor, nobody knows who I am. I just observe the way our staff work. And we reward them for their hard work, So we've learned to put those structures in place, because in the University of Life, you learn all these things, and we've taken it up from there.
Absolutely. So I'm going to ask you this one last final question. You go on vacation, who do you hand over to when you do? Hello, Tony.
Okay, I wasn't hearing you.
Okay, can you hear me now? Hello, Tony, did you hear me?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
No, I didn't hear you.
Okay, so I said
yes,
from
we
time
can
to
hear
time,
you now.
I can imagine that you go on vacation. So who do you normally typically hand over to?
I don't know. I remember there was a time we had a family wedding. Yes, our last one was getting married, and he was getting married in the UK, and we all had to go. We handed over to the manager. So every store has a manager. I mean, and we handed over anywhere in the world. We take orders from, I take orders for Ashwebi on a daily basis. We have different packages, especially the one we just package now. It's called the COL account, the Celebration of Life account, because we find out a lot of our old customers are passing on, So we have so they know what to do. I mean, there was a time last year, no, this was 2019. I had to go for surgery. I had 3 surgeries in the space of 2 weeks, But even in my house, on my hospital bed, I was still working. I was still attending to customers. But of course, I was working in line with my staff. Since I have staff that have worked with me, for every. And in Lekki, and where our new head office is coming up. So, every one of them, they know what to do. I've not been to work since morning, but what is going on? From my phone, I see everything, So we have reporting lines, we have our statements, or our SOPs, and
I'm not sure if it's my internet or Twins.
And what goes on. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And let's just ask that. Okay. Yes, I can. There's a bit of delay, but yes, I heard you. We heard you, Tony. I think there's a bit of delay from your side, but it's okay. So I'm going to go to the Q&A now. There have been a few questions that participants have asked, and the first one is for Yimika. On the way to the top, how do you handle sexual harassment and discrimination against women in the workplace? That question always comes up, so I'm sure you're not surprised.
I personally, I mean, in all fairness, I personally haven't experienced what I call sexual harassment, but I've had colleagues who have and have come to me to talk to me about it. And, you know, it's for me, first of all, as a company, both when I was in Coca-Cola and also now in Cadbury, everyone knows the policy and everybody knows that, you know, it's not tolerated. And I mean, you get the highest punishment, which is that you really have, you know, an investigation will be carried out. And if you're found to have harassed somebody sexually, and by the way, guys, it's not just women, men to women, it's also women to men. You know, if you're found to have done it, you would be penalized. And the highest penalty is you could lose your job. But where somebody's come to me to talk to me about it, in one situation, she said, well, she's just telling me doesn't know what to do. And I had to encourage her to report formally about it. And this was before I became CEO. So, you know, I mean, I was talking to someone who's junior in the company and who said, you know, one of her managers or one of the managers in her team, not a direct manager, was making passes at her. You know, reported it, and the person was actually asked to leave the company. You know, you set the right example, and everybody will get to know, even though you keep it confidential. That's the thing about Nigeria. You know, Bush Telegraph. You know, once something happens, no matter how confidential you keep it, people will eventually find out. And in this case, we kept it confidential for everybody's sake. But you know, it was good somehow. You know, I say it with a giggle in my in my heart. Yeah. That was good. Everybody heard that it was because this person was sexually, harassed, making passes. It didn't physically attack her, but making passes. It's not acceptable. You know, so what I say is call it out. A lot of women are shy about it. A lot of women also feel, they might lose their job, they might be treated badly, victimized. Other men might victimize them. Yes, please call it out. Call it out as quickly as before it even becomes a problem. Once you sense it, call it out. And once you call it out, I mean, irrespective of whether, the person you're reporting to is a man or woman, I'm sure they will not tolerate it. And unfortunately, with companies, even as Tony has said, there are hierarchies. We always jokingly say, if your boss doesn't do something, tell your boss's boss. If your boss's boss doesn't do something, and I say, by the way, I just jokingly tell my guys in the office, like, when you tell your boss's boss and doesn't tell God. Abby? By the time we tell God, in fact, by the time God meets out justice, many heads will fly. And
the truth of the matter, like they say, if all else fails, you can always leave. That's the truth of the matter, But
absolutely.
We feel that we're stuck in there. You can always leave.
But I honestly would not say that should even be top of your mind to say, well,
no, that's the last resort.
Yes, because that's like running away from a problem. Because what if you go somewhere else and the problem meets you there? You can't keep running.
Absolutely, totally agree. Another question for you, Yimika. Did you get to a point in your career when while still in Cadbury, having stayed there for over 12 years, when you actually thought of leaving? And if you ever did, what kept you from leaving?
I would say, I mean, first of all, did I ever think of leaving? I think probably at some point. The few times I've thought of leaving, maybe something happened that I thought, or maybe I've been approached by too many companies. I mean, headhunters. With LinkedIn, with you being on LinkedIn, it's like you are open to the whole world. And I get approached, and I talk to people. But, what has kept me, I go back to something. My husband, fantastic man, he always, I consult my husband on almost everything. Some people say, that's too much, but that's reality. He's my life partner, so I might as well. And he said something to me a long time ago, which is my yardstick. That anytime I'm thinking of leaving my company, I should list 3 things that I feel where I'm going would offer me that my company would not offer me. And those 3 things, none of them should be financial, because if it's financial, it's easy. Any employer that wants to take you from your company will ask you, how much are you earning now? You say 1 naira, they say, I'll give you 10. Of course, you jump at it. So he said to me, don't put financial on the list, but list 3 things that you're not seeing where you are now that those guys will give you. If you cannot list 3 things, stay where you are, because it's got to be really worth it for you to leave your current role. And, don't forget, I've made comments about how, whether it's in NBC or in Cadbury, I've had 2 extremely supportive employers who recognize that, yes, I'm a woman, and it's not about Yimika Debo, it's how we treat our women. we have an extremely familiar relationship. We have a company that treats you as a family member. We have a company that looks at what you are doing and ensures that, you can go out there and ask the question, what are you happy where you are? Yes. Why? And one of the reasons you say so is I like being there, because I'm spending most of my attentive hours of the day with other people in an environment that is not my family. So I better be comfortable and happy there. Otherwise, I should not be there. So going back to your question, ask those 3 questions and say to yourself, well, I won't get A, B, C, right? Or I will get A, B, C that they're not giving me. Then that's the time to move out. I have struggled with that. I have struggled with that. And, 12 years in Cadbury, 10 years as CFO, and 2 years, this is my second year as MD. I'd say that I've asked that question severally. In one situation, I think I had only 2, and I felt those 2 were not good enough a reason to decide to move on.
Okay, thank you. Fair enough. Toyin, the business that you're in is very dependent on foreign exchange. And we all know what has happened with foreign exchange in the last several years, particularly in the face of devaluation. So can you tell us, how a business, can you share with us some tips, how a business can remain profitable given the unpredictable Forex policies and devaluation?
Okay, thank you so much. And one thing I know that we have learned to do, because our business is very, very dependent on foreign exchange, but from the early days, we've learned, most recently now, we have learned to cut down on our expenses. Financial prudence is so important, cutting unnecessary costs. I remember after the COVID-19, now we had to close down our store in VI, and we consolidated it with our store in Lekki, just to cut down on overheads. Of course, profitability, we've had to reduce profits, because everything. One thing I learned from my mother was turnover. She taught us turnover, sell it, put little on it, and move forward. I remember doing the first time the money was devalued. This was about 5 years ago. And a lot of people said, oh, we're going to stop. We can't handle this anymore. The foreign exchange, And I said, no, we must have contingent plans. And one thing we did was that we have fantastic suppliers. These are companies that have been there for over 100 years. And so we go into meetings with them. We ask for discounts. We do a lot of things. You have to help us. Our suppliers, we have such a good relationship with them, so that in the midst of the high foreign exchange, we never for once stopped doing business. We make sure that, those financial tips, cut down on your overheads, be prudent, ask for discounts, and of course, one thing I know in Nigeria, I'm observing a customer on the shop floor, and once it comes to price, they will say, we need your attention, and I'll say, oh my God, there's really nothing I can do about price, because the price has been fixed from the head office. It's my MD that fixes it. It's a system. And, we all follow it. And that's when customers are not happy. But of course, we always come to a compromise, and because we make sure that they must be happy. So we've always learned to cut down on our overheads, and we've learned to, plow it back into the business. We plow it back a lot, build such sustainable structures, so that it's about knowing that our suppliers are there for us, and we're doing the right things, so that we can achieve efficiency, get the right price, and effectiveness. So it's so important, that we cut down on those costs, but there's nothing we can do about it. It's beyond our control.
Absolutely.
Beyond our control when the government, and of course, we learn to keep our money in dollars. There's so many things we do, so that, there's just some things you can't talk about. Yes. Yes, be on the cutting edge, but never stop doing your business. Make sure you have your supply. Make sure your goods are always in high demand, so that people will always come. Nigeria has a lot of events. We're always doing one function on it. So once they know that you're consistent and you're focused, you're committed to your enterprise, they will always buy. They will always buy, and that has been our story. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So you mentioned something earlier on about being very happy when you receive alerts. So you've told us that that you're on a salary, but are there times when you have extra, in quotes, extra salary expenses that the business meets. Because, and the reason I ask that, a lot of businesses, yes, they've told themselves that, yes, I put myself on a salary, but there are times when, for instance, you did mention that one of your siblings got married. Who bears the expense? Does the business, write out a check to cover that kind of expense, without necessarily divulging family secret? Is there something that you can share with us, with entrepreneurs of the
and
yeah.
Okay, as an accountant in the early days, we were taught you must not spend out of cash. You must bank your cash. Don't take expenses, and of course there are some accounts, so I remember, when we have family expenses, of course I have a husband that supports me as well, I get my monthly allowance and all that, but we try as much as possible to record all expenses, and because we have auditors. I'm an auditor myself, so we have auditors, and they will say, what was this for? And I'll say, this was the purpose of what it was for. There's an estate account, there is no, if I remember when we were preparing for this last wedding, I opened an account called the wedding account, so everything is so well defined. And there are times that my staff, maybe the petty cash has finished. I'll say, you must not touch out of your daily sales. Make sure so we make sure we provide for all these things, but most of all, of course, there are times we might need to take, but we take permission, we get them,
approval.
Approvals. And of course, our business, we're very, very prudent. It's so important to record your transactions, and of course, we've learned to plow back, we've learned to grow. The business has grown by itself. I don't believe in loans. We've never really done that, And of course, our suppliers, we have such an amazing credit line with them. I for 100 people, and immediately I put a call across to my supplier, and immediately it's put on the machine, because we've built what you call
credit worthiness.
Consistency. They know that we have such a good credit.
Okay.
For us. Yes. I mean, I remember the ones, they came to do a credit rating for us, and I was wondering, wow, for one of our suppliers in Austria and Switzerland, they did a credit rating for us, and so we are like their first choice. So they've trust, integrity is so important, and these are the things that have helped us. I hope I'm not frozen.
No. you were a bit, but
yes.
We heard you.
Yes.
So, thank you very much.
So we were very prudent in that matter. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yimika, I'm coming back to you, and also for some of the things that Tony said. There's sometimes how do successful women remain grounded, particularly in their relationship with their husbands, especially when they are more successful? And I'd like you to answer that together with this other one. What advice do you have for women who are reticent to pursue careers or business because they do not want to outshine their husbands? How should women deal with the perceived awkwardness that comes from earning more than their husbands do?
Okay, so I think I've been on both sides of the coin, where I've earned more and then he's earned more. So we've had this situation. I think first of all, as a Christian woman, the first thing I recognize is that my husband is the head of my family, irrespective of whether I earn two kobo more or he earns 10 kobo more. It's irrelevant, and I've taken that on to as a principle in my heart, because I follow the word of God over the years. So whether it's when he's earning more than me or I'm earning more than him, that has never been at the forefront in terms of my thought process. I think that's very important, because you see, money can cause serious problems. If you don't upfront from day one decide that it is our money, and you start saying this is my own and this is your own, you will have issues. I'm not saying it happened on day one. It took some time, but we walked through the process of, for example, we have joint accounts. And it was my husband actually, when he put the process in place, it took a long time for me to understand, because before he put it in place, he used to write me a check. He used to write me, in those days we write checks, he used to write me a check or transfer money into my account. He used to write me a check. We paid it in. I paid it into my own account as the house allows. Then one day he said, we're going to have a joint account. He sent me all the papers. I filled all the forms, signed all the forms, and I thought to myself, okay, this is very strange. So it's had this joint account, but in my head, I was still writing my own check of my own share of the money. I'm an accountant. I had a little tip. By the way, he's also an accountant. I had a little tip thing on the side of my checkbook where I would put my total salary, then I'll start deducting. Then there was a day I said to him, oh, I need more money to buy something. And he said, why are you telling me? I said, because I've spent more than what I'm supposed to spend. Yeah. He looked at me really strange. I think it was for him, was like, really, you've been thinking like that? I didn't know that he wasn't thinking like, I thought both of us were thinking like that. We just, for the sake of, putting it together, put it in one pocket, but everybody spends their own share. And he said, woman, it's in your hands. Do whatever it is you want to do. Just don't get us into debt. That for me was like a wow, like an aha. And I've come to live comfortably with it. We've been married now, 25 years, going on 26. And I haven't, had a situation where, today I can say, I'm earning more, he's earning more than me, and therefore that's a problem. I think for me, the forefront, as I said, is remember who the head of the family is, remember who the leader in the family is, and everything else falls into place. It would not matter if you're also pulling things together. It wouldn't matter who's earned what. You would do what you need to do for the family and for yourselves.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. That's a critical one. What do you want to do for the family and for yourselves? So I have another question here, and it's for you, Yemika. There are lots of small businesses, one-man businesses, where the CEO would insist on his way, regardless of how dedicated his staff is. Some ladies have lost their jobs because they spoke up or asked for something. What's your advice to young ladies working in places like this? How can they continue thriving regardless of glaring limitations around them? So essentially, one-man businesses, more or less, where there's a dominant owner who would just not let them have their ways. What's your advice to young ladies working in such organizations?
I'm not sure what we mean by having their way and having his way. And but what I'll say upfront is, if you're an employee in a company, I always say, do your bit and do it as unto the Lord. Work like you're working. The employer is God. It's not that man. I think once you have that mindset and you do what you need to do, really and truly, if you're true to yourself and you say, look, I've done everything and I've done all the right stuff, and this employer is not treating me the way I believe I should be treated, the first thing I would do is to have a conversation. You have to voice it. So that the day you decide that, look, I've had enough, I'm going, it won't be like, what's wrong with this woman? She just gets up and she just walks away. There will be records that you have sat down and had a conversation to explain or to voice your concerns or what you require. Even the most difficult employer, even the most tough one-man business, would definitely turn around and listen to you if they value you. So if you're doing your job like God is your employer, and you have a man employer that is refusing to recognize that you're doing all that you need to do, you have concerns, voice it. If that concern is ignored, honestly, I'll tell you to leave there. Maybe it's time that you leave there. Maybe God is telling you to go and look for something else. For me, the first thing is make sure that you are doing a fantastic job. And you can hold your hands up and say, I have done all that I could have done. If God was standing in front of me today and he asked me to make account of my employment record in this place, I can truthfully say I have worked very well in this place.
Thank you. So there's a follow-up question from the joint account. And again, this is
I knew that was going to trigger something.
it would, so this is not you now, but they're asking you to please proffer advice. If I find out that my husband is a spendthrift and we have a joint account, what is wisdom?
If he's a spendthrift and he's spending money on rubbish, please, wisdom says have a conversation. If that conversation doesn't get you anywhere, unjoin the joints. I thank God that I married a responsible person. But honestly, God forbid, if it had been that we had a joint account and before I even buy the stuff for the house, the money's gone, I would unjoin the account very quickly. I don't think it's part of how you get your family into a unit. It's the things you do, praying together, living together, doing everything together. It's part of all of that. And it's not the one thing. So that it has to be a collective thing. So there's also something else that, if the person is spendthrift, there'll be other things too that will be amiss anyway. It wouldn't just be on the financial side. It will be on, a leopard can't change its spot.
Absolutely.
If it's messing up in finances, it's messing up in everything else. Trust me.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
you have a bigger problem than money, and you need to just sit down, assess it, and decide it's either we're enjoying all these things that we are. And before you're enjoying, please have a conversation. I think talking and having a conversation is so important before people think you're crazy and you're just doing things without, this woman is unreasonable. She's just acting like a vagabond. Don't let that be your portion. Have that conversation and loud it out between the two of you.
Because for all you care, he might not even realize that is
absolutely. He might just think, especially if you go and keep, he buys clothes and say, oh, that's nice. That's cool. He'll think, okay, my wife likes me buying clothes. Let me help myself.
Okay. So this question has repeated itself. Let me just, it's been a number of people have asked it in the chat box. So most women in leadership positions, I would not say most women, I would say many women in leadership positions do not promote or encourage other women within the business space. What is your take on it? First of all, do you agree? And what's your take? Yimika, you're muted.
Oh, sorry, Yimika.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I would be really disappointed to hear that any woman is not promoting other women. I'll put a caveat and say I'm a stickler for merit, and I would promote anyone irrespective of gender that's doing a fantastic job. Having said that, I'm also very aware of the importance of lauding women and making sure that women get the opportunity. So I would, if you look at, let me give you an example. And maybe it's worked out well over the years. I remember when I was finance director, I gave this example on another talk that I had yesterday. When I was finance director, my HR director came to me at one point and said, Yimika, you have too many women in your leadership team. And I was really taken aback. And so what does that mean? He said, oh, it's becoming a concern. You have 7 direct reports and 4 of them are women. So there are more women than men. And I said, did I bring them from my family, from my home, from my village?
From your village.
No. How do we recruit in this company? We have 3 levels of recruitment. CVs come into HR. HR shortlists those CVs. They go into a first panel level. First panel level is first line of interview. Then they go into second panel level. Then they come to the function. So the final interviewer is myself and the HR director when we see the final candidates. But those CVs sent by me? No, we've gotten CV of the best people out there. They just happen to be women. So why is it a big deal that suddenly we have such fantastic women and people find it odd? Would you get this comment if I had 7 men in my team? No. So why is it a big deal? They're human beings doing a fantastic job. That their skirt and long hair should not make you feel uncomfortable. Let's stop talking about this. And anyone that says this again, please drive them away. You have to do what you need to do. Absolutely. We recruited once, and the best candidate, after we made an offer to her, somebody came to me and said, oh, they just found out that she's pregnant. So I said, oh, is that a problem? Hey, she might need to take maternity leave. I said, is that a disability? No. So is she good for the job? Yes. Can she do the job? Yes. But she has to take maternity leave. Guys, let's cross that bridge when we get there. Let her come and start working. You have to put your foot forward and make sure that the right thing is done. The same way that I'll treat a good male employee, I'll treat a good female employee. Now, today, because of the strength of diversity and inclusion, I'm even making more noise. So I'm saying, for example, if we're looking for people and you bring 10 CVs and there's no woman in that CV, don't start shortlisting. Yes, go back out there and find them because they're out there. The population of Nigeria, gender-wise, is 70-30, by the way, guys. Yeah. So don't come to me with 10 CVs and 1 woman. Come to me with 10 CVs and at least 5 women. Otherwise, we haven't started talking. So, we keep pushing and promoting, making sure that women are heard. Today we're doing things around, we have a creche. We just built a creche in our office. It took a while, but when we finally finished the creche in 2019, launched it in December, January, February 2020, COVID, lockdown. But, we're doing a lot of things to just make sure that our young women can come to work and feel comfortable to do their job and perform well. And we'll continue to do that. we would definitely support women. That's not something that is not negotiable anymore. And I'm really happy that today we have the D&I as a top priority everywhere. You know, earlier on, I think it was last week, we had a stock exchange conversation around how do we use the stock exchange to make companies focus on, making sure that women are on their boards, employees, senior management is X% of women, because everywhere else in the world, this is what is happening. Why should Nigeria be different? So there's quite a lot going on, and I'm really proud to be part of that process.
Thank you very much, Yimika. Fantastic response there. Thank you very much. We would begin to round off now, but I have a question for Toyin. As a woman, still perceived to a large extent as a weaker vessel, not my words. How do you communicate with power and impact that earns you respect that you deserve? Toyin, particularly given the fact that you're also soft-spoken.
Okay, before I answer that question, I just wanted to add to what Mr. Adeboye said, about the question about loving your husband, how to be, how not to outshine your husband.
Yeah.
And like I said, all these things start from foundation. So I grew up in a house where my mom was the breadwinner, and but no matter the customer she had in our store growing up, once it's 6 o'clock, she's up to the kitchen to make his dinner, and she would leave us in the store with our customers. And, and I learned that, so recently, of course, I got to maybe like a nanny, and she was cooking, and my husband began to, complain. And I was like, I've tried now. I think I'm married for about 17 years. So, God has such an interesting sense of humor. So I went to a wedding, and on this, I was seated on the same table with about 3 first ladies. And they said a story of how, this was sometime last year, I think 2019, and how they still go to the market to cook for their husbands. They said they are the ones that, being, so what I'm just trying to add is that as women, no matter how successful you are, don't outshine your husband. Be supportive in the home.
Absolutely.
Ensure you're in control of your kitchen. Don't say you're too busy to serve your husband. I still serve my husband every day. Sometimes even if it's at 1 a.m., I will come downstairs. And I'm talking from experience, So just give to your husband all the love. It's mutual, I tell you that knowledge is power. It's not about shouting, But, the question you asked now, about women being the weaker vessel, One thing I know is that, let the light that God has put in you shine, I mean, I tell people that, knowledge is about what you know. I respect my workers a lot, I respect our staff, I respect their opinion. From the Baba that is at the door, I respect all of them. And because I know what to do, I might be soft-spoken, but, I'm also firm, and I do the right things at the right time. So, it's about letting your light shine. It's about be yourself. Don't be rude. Be humble. Trust is so important. I know we've learned to be resilient. I've learned to empathize, And so these are the things that have helped us. These are the things that, doing those things, don't feel too big, when I don't have money, I was saying, recently my daughter was 10 last week, and I spent so much money, and I said, I need some money, because my daughter and my husband, they share the same day. I mean, they're just a day apart, but the way I approached him, so much respect, until they finally gave in. So it's how to communicate with them. And I tell people that when you give your husband that respect, he will always respect you. I remember after my mom passed on, I didn't even know this, and my father said something at our graveside. He said, we've been married for the past 30 years, and for the last 10 years, I've been without a job, and not a third party knew it. She kept his secrets. And, and that's why I respect my father up to now. He kept her memory, he preserved it. So it's about how you treat. Love is so important in everything. Without love, we're just wasting our time. You might have all the money in the world, be successful. But, my husband knows about this meeting. He even gave me some tips, my brother, so it's about that love and respect. Once it's missing, then we've missed it. So it goes along where there's no way you can, where is the weaker vessel? It's about the strength on our inside. It's not about shouting, respecting people. balancing what you say, listening to everybody, have such a listening ear. And that's one thing I've learned, I listen to everybody. We have such a relationship, and their joy is my joy, their pain is my pain, and we flow together. So it's about the inner strength. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That really was awesome for me. I took quite a lot from it. And I just really wish that we could go on and on and on. That's what happens when you have such intelligent women share the evening with you. We could go on and on and on. Unfortunately, as always, time is not on our side. We can't take all the questions, but I can assure you that we will take note of those questions and get both Unica and Toyi to respond to them, and we'll share them with you via email. So I'll just like both of you, one after the other, to give your final words, on achieving success in a changing world, because indeed our world is changing, not just by the day, but also it would appear by the minutes. Starting with you, Toyi.
Okay, my final word is, I tell people, just do what you love, and success will follow. Passion is the fuel, behind a successful career, and my advice for a lot of upcoming entrepreneurs: do your market research well, understand consumer behavior. Don't be afraid of failing. That's one thing I always tell people. Never shy away from your failures, no matter how many times you are failed. I spoke recently that when you wake up is your morning. Your failures are your learning ropes. Good customer service can never be underestimated. It's the key to sustaining any business, and of course, go digital, be focused, have a high sense of commitment, don't compromise. Integrity is so important in this world, and make sure you have staying power. Be resilient, never give up, be so resilient, and our vision has always been to be a one-time buyer to a lifelong customer, and we focus on our return customers. So we've had customers that have been with us for over 40 years, and they've stayed with us. So, I tell people our customers are our shareholders, they have a high sense of ownership. So build a dependable brand that people can trust, and, just do, work from your heart, not from your head, work from your heart. Be happy at all times, and, communication is so important, for everything, in everything. Focus, integrity, hard work, those things will take you far, and be dynamic. Don't be static, adapt, be innovative, and then just keep on going for the best, that's all. And empathize with your customers, celebrate them,
Celebrate with them. Thank you so much.
Yes,
I wish we could go on and on and on and on. Thank you very much. Unica, final words.
I think Toyi said a couple of things that I want to use as my final words, and I'd said them earlier on in my presentation. The first is be focused. That is so important. There'll be many distractions around you. Don't get distracted. Keep your purpose. Be very purposeful. I set my purpose many years ago in Arthur Andersen on a COVID training that I didn't, at the time I was doing, I was very young. I didn't think through what I was doing, but I was focused on what I was doing. I didn't think how far it would take me. I wasn't married. I didn't have any children, but I wrote my mission statement. And today I still look back and I still say, I stick to it. So be purposeful and intentional. I talked about, career-wise, I want what I wanted. It took a while where I wanted to be as a general manager. I was told it wasn't possible, but I didn't let that stop me from that dream. I prayed about it and I knew that God, there was God in it. So it was, for me, it was a matter of time. The other thing I'll say is also be flexible, which might sound contradictory, but be flexible more around, today we have COVID. Many years ago, I remember, when I would say, I needed to do something like maybe work at home, fortunately for me, my employers didn't mind, it was okay. But for a lot of people, it was like, you work from home. You can't work from home. You have to come to the office. Today, the employer is saying, stay at home, don't come to work.
Yeah.
That is the today that we face, 2 years ago, 2019, 70% of our sales in my company came from the open market, Okiari, Singa market, Dubai, all the markets, that's where we sold the most. During the lockdown, we had to think out of the box. We have to say, we had to say to ourselves, we have two options: keep the business running and do all that it takes, think out of the box, or shut the business down and send everyone home. Of course, I'm not going to shut the business down and send everyone.
Yeah.
So, you know, we had to be flexible. We had to think out of the box. We had to do things that were not conventional. And we learned a lot from that. Today, there's no lockdown, but guess what? The team, the Cadbury team, fantastic. People are good. The team's going out there and doing amazing things that, honestly, 2 years ago, if somebody had suggested it, I would have said, I don't think we can do it like that. I don't think Nigeria is ready for that. Nigeria is ready for it. The world is ready for it. Finally, I'll say, be true to yourself, and remember who you are.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I cannot thank you two ladies enough. And I wish we had an extra hour, really, because I'm sure that we really would do more justice to this. So well, but time quickly goes when you're having fun. I'll just spend 1 minute to quickly draw the highlights from this conversation. From Yimika: be purposeful, be determined, be focused, wait on God, excel in your role, and then please don't hesitate to take advantage of your support systems, and there's no point feeling guilty at all. From a business perspective, like Tony has shared with us, earn the trust of your customers and of your employees. Excellent customer service, hard work, again, reiterated. Pursue excellence in all that you do. Focus, again, she also reiterated that. And have clearly defined rules for every family member and have structures in place. Thank you very much, ladies. I cannot thank you enough. We really appreciate you spending the time with us this evening and sharing from your fountain of knowledge. I'm going to hand over this session now to Pastor Mrs. Yinka Morgan for her closing remarks and closing prayers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very, very insightful and impactful. I didn't even know that both Yimika and Tony were chartered accountants. Very interesting, because I'm also a chartered accountant. And one thing that you kept on reiterating: discipline, hard work, be balanced, be humble. I want to say thank you very much, Tony. Very, very interesting about family business. I didn't know you get a lot and you're disciplined. Business running, you have to earn a salary. Even my own business, I have a salary. I put myself, though it's my business, I have a salary. Or else you just spend it. So that's why you have reserves. Very, very well done. Tony. Another thing about respect for your husband, going to the kitchen. I hope some of us have taken a cue from that, because it's not easy. But you're lucky that you work for yourself, and then going down at 1 a.m. It might not be easy for someone like you to go to a board meeting by maybe 8 a.m. the next day. So, but one thing that you also both mentioned, Yimika, which I was very happy about, your support system and the support from your husband, Ayo. Very interesting, and the children. And it's so good that, you spoke about the children saying their mind. Because if the child keeps something in their mind about mommy or daddy, they will get that. They will get the advice from outside. So be close to your children was so, so important. Don't outshine your husband. Very important. Once a man or husband feels they're doing so well, and because of that, you can't go to the kitchen again, it can actually cause a lot of tension. Some people also say, oh, I've been married for 25 years. I can't go to the kitchen again. Please, my sisters, let's be humble. That's a learning point, because I have friends that say, I've been married 30 years. What else? What else? You've seen everything. The nanny should do everything. But the nanny or the cook can cut everything to the extent that you just do the finishing bit.
Yeah.
In the kitchen. You agree with me?
Yes. Very,
very, very, very important, because really you work very hard, and when you come home, you also want to rest. Another take was discipline. Discipline is so important. Keep your husband's secret. But sometimes a woman can be overburdened and you want to share with someone. Share with a trusted friend, or share with a mentor or role model. Most of us, I don't know if you have mentors. Yimika, do you have a mentor? A female mentor, or your husband's your mentor?
Well, my husband's my number one mentor, of course, but, like I said it earlier on that, I refer to my husband a lot of things, but formally, my company, I think over the last 5 years, I've had mentors. I've had, for different reasons, as my role was developing, I've had the mentors who suit each time. But yes, right now I do have a mentor. And I think it's important. I had a talk yesterday with some other women, and one of the things I said to them is, we're talking about breaking barriers, and I said, you really need to have a mentor. And somebody said, what if I can't find a mentor? I said, well, it depends on what you're defining as a mentor. Sometimes you have the wrong mindset of who a mentor should be. You need to define what your mentor should be doing, and you would always find a mentor.
So I want to have a take on that, because so you don't make mistakes in life. Because I remember once when I wanted to resign in 1996 after I had my second baby, I was going to resign from Oceanic Bank, but someone said to me, "Don't resign. Go on leave of absence for 1 year." And during the leave of absence, what I'm doing today, real estate, and I ran Latana, and I was on a job, but I was not being paid salary. So my husband was paying me salary because he was on missions for 9 months. That helped, that helped. So I guess there's still a lot of questions. A lot of us on the platform still have. I would say post your questions, get in touch with the team. And even as I rang up, I want to say thank you, Yimika. Thank you, and thank you. You have to come back. It's an unfinished job. And also, thank you, Tony. It's still an unfinished job. We rushed this session. But I also want to say thank you to the team members. Tomi Adepoju, Bisi Adeyemi, Laila Olofoyeku, Bimpe Adebisi, Ellen Orimolade, Ayoteju Ogun, and Tosi Shudende. Well done. And for this impactful, insightful session. We hope to do more of these sessions during the year on women. And I think a learning point for all women on the platform, please let us help each other, like Yimika said. She mentioned it. We need to, women sometimes don't help themselves. Please, that's one take. Please let us help to bring up the younger women, encourage each other, and God will see us through. So I'll hand over to Oli, who will do the closing prayer. Olu is the head of the women's ministry, and I can't see Sister Lighton here. Lighton, please, could you open your camera if you can, Sister Lighton? But if you can't, you acknowledge she's the minister in charge.
I'm on. Good evening.
Are you on?
Yes.
Thank you. Olu, it was wonderful. And my assistant, Sister Tinuso, are you on? If you don't, I don't know. We are both for the. Please note that everyone is important, and you can reach out to anyone. Thank you. Only the closing prayer.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everyone. Such an insightful session. One thing Mrs. Toyin Bakare said, she said knowledge is power. And that is one thing we have been reiterating over the past 2 weeks when we tried to advertise and let people know that this program is going to be awesome. Thank you very much to you both. I'll just take Proverbs chapter 4, verse 5. Get wisdom, get understanding. Forget it not, neither decline it from the words of my mouth. Proverbs 3:13, happy is the man that findeth wisdom and the man that getteth understanding. Let's thank God for the wisdom that we have gotten today, the understanding. Proverbs 4:7, wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom, and with all that getting, get understanding. Father, we thank you for the wisdom. Lord, we thank you for the understanding that we've gotten tonight or this evening. Thank you for your daughters that you have used to admonish us. Lord, we give you praise in the name of Jesus. Father, we pray for every lady on this platform, those who are watching online, everyone. We ask, Lord, that these words would not go away, but we'll go back and we'll ponder over them in the mighty name of Jesus. Thank you for the awesome team that you have used to bring this together. Lord, we give you praise in the mighty name of Jesus. Thank you, awesome Father. To you be all the glory, to you be all the praise, to you be all adoration. For in Jesus' name we have prayed. Amen. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. God bless you.
God bless you, everyone. Thank you. God bless you for